Catania is a big city in Sicily. I would say Palermo and Catania are the biggest cities in Sicily. And I was fortunate enough to go to Catania, and it is beautiful. First of all, Sicily is gorgeous. Like, you should pray to serve in Sicily because it is so beautiful, and there's just sunshine, and there's fruit. There are fruit trees everywhere you walk in the city. There will be a fruit tree. I would say the further south you go, the more traditional Italians are, traditional in their faith and their traditions and their culture. And the biggest surprise I had about going to Sicily is that there are dialects all over Italy. And I'd probably say the most prominent dialect is Siciliano, is the Sicilian dialect. And I went down there and it was just a completely different language. But fear not, they still speak Italian. Just don't be surprised if you are walking on the street and you hear a completely different language. And I did have some moments where I'd be like, I don't understand anything, and my trainer would say, "Don't worry, it was Siciliano." I was like, oh, phew. Yeah, Sicilianos are just they're very proud of their culture. I remember one time we were talking to this store owner, and he asked, like, "Where are you from?" We said, we're from America. And we said, we're like, "And you're from Italy?" And he's like, "No, I'm from Sicily." And he was completely serious. So they're very, very proud of their culture. They don't see themselves, a lot of them, probably more of the older people, don't see themselves as Italians, but as Sicilians. It's definitely a more louder culture down there, and there are a lot of crazies, crazy people. You'll definitely run into that, and which makes for more interesting journal entries and letters home. But it's really fun. I loved it. I love the people. That's where everything really, really shuts down during that lunch period, that lunchtime, and they all flock home. And it's difficult. We can't go out we can't like really get work done and find people until around 4-ish or appointments. So that's kind of hard unless you have a lunch appointment with someone or a pranzo appointment. But yeah, they're fun. In Sicily, or pretty much in all of Italy, the transportation, they use public transportation everywhere. You'll find buses everywhere. As missionaries, we use buses, trains, and walking. I would say in Sicily, that's where I did the most walking because the bus system did not really function. At least in the city, in Catania, the buses were never on time. They just were not reliable. And so I walked the most in Catania. The general lifestyle people, they live in apartment buildings. Everyone lives in apartment buildings. When you say you're from America and you live in a house, they think you're rich. They think that is unheard of, pretty much in all of Italy, I'd say. And so people live in these big apartment buildings, and so to get into their houses, you have to ring the citofono, the doorbell. It's like this big box with these doorbells until you ring that, and then a voice box will be there, and they'll say, like, "Who is it?" And so you'll tell them who you are, and they'll either ring you in or they won't ring you in or open the door for you. And so, yeah, so you have to it's a big building. You have to get through that door, and then you have to go upstairs and get to their apartment building or their apartment. And their typical work, I would say, is a caretaker. They take care of seniors or older folks, and also like a nanny. They'll watch kids and take them to school, and also housekeeper. A lot of cleaning. So those are definitely typical jobs that you'll run into. But I mean, I've definitely run into Italians that have been doctors or lawyers and that are members of the church. there are a lot of foreigners in Italy, all over Italy. So yeah, a lot of your work will be with Filipinos, with Africans, Romanians, Ukrainians, you name it, they're in Italy. So Catania is a huge city, and it has, in most big cities, there's a big Duomo or big cathedral that is like the cathedral of the city. And so the center of Catania is really cool. And it's just beautiful. And I don't know, Sicily is definitely a little bit more dirty. You will find trash on the ground very often, but which is a pity because it's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful there. But Catania is also known for its volcano nearby, Mount Etna. It is an active volcano. Actually, currently in the world news, it's been erupting, which is really cool. Like, you can find some really cool pictures. But yeah, when I was there, every so often you'd see, like, as you would drive by, you'd see like just like a little bit of red at the top of the volcano. And you can actually go to it. And so, yeah, I've been to it. Also, when you're serving in Catania, there's a military base nearby called Sigonella. And so when I was serving there, the missionaries would go to church on Sundays, and we'd often help out with less active work there. But since then, they've called senior missionary couple there, and they do service work on the base. So that was really cool to have Americans nearby. One very memorable story that comes to mind that was actually like touched me and changed, like just changed me, I think, for the rest of my life. Like it really had an impact on me. In Catania, there was this woman who was inactive, and so we would do our weekly visits with her, and she was just so kind. She was so kind and sweet. And I will preface it with the sisters before us had told us that just like beware going to her house, because she just lives in like these really just awful circumstances. There's just her dogs everywhere, and she just does not live in very good conditions at all. And beware, she'll try to serve you food that's not very kosher. And just watch out, because where she lives, it's just really gross and nasty. And so my companion and I were a little bit nervous going into it, like, oh, I don't even know how this is gonna be. And so we went into it, and sure enough, it was pretty gross. There were I don't know, where she lived was kind of sketchy. And anyway, so we went into her home, and we sat down, and it didn't smell very good in her home, and it was very dirty. And so we started off by saying a prayer, and then she told us, and this is just, told us this, that she really likes hymns. So we brought her hymn books, and we said, like, hey, do you want to sing a hymn? And she said, yeah, definitely. And she just had the biggest smile on her face. And she didn't have a lot of teeth, but she was just so sweet, and you could just feel her spirit. And we let her choose the hymn, and the first hymn that she flipped to was "Because I have been given much, I too must give." And that just really touched me. And I was just a greenie, and I didn't understand like hardly anything she was saying, but I just thought, wow, this woman who has nothing. She has nothing. Her husband is bedridden, and she just lives in these just really sad and awful circumstances, just loves the Lord so much. And she loved him so much that she wanted to sing this hymn, and she just had a big smile on her face. And I remember we had the most spiritual lessons with her. She didn't come to church just for reasons of embarrassment, but there are some really, really cool, strong members down there in Sicily, or in all of Italy. So I learned a lot from her and her example. And it was definitely a humbling experience to go into that, and fearing like, oh, what's it going to be like? Like, what do we have to deal with? But this woman just didn't even care and was just so happy that we were there to visit her.